Boy oh boy, isn't it sure nice to look up to the HUD and say, man, I have the max amount of bombs and arrows in this game, and I will never have to worry about that ever again, except that motherfucker just stole one of my bombs. But that's okay, because that doesn't lower my max amount, so I can continue on knowing that I have the maximum amount of bombs and arrows. So with the money that we had acquired from the Swamp Palace, and prior to the Swamp Palace, we had just gathered like just enough money to increase our bombs and arrows to the max amount, which was pretty cool. Your last upgrade gives you an increment of 10 instead of 5, which is really nice of the Wishing Fairy to do. After you hit the max, she'll just be like, hey, nothing I can do, go to the Wishing Well up by Zora's Domain if you want more. But we had already done that previously in the series. It gives you a better shield and better boomerang, so there's that. Also, that pillar that I ran into earlier, I don't know why it spits out apples like a tree, but it does. I don't know if that's an intentional Nintendo Easter eggy thingy, or if it's a glitch. I don't know. Not really all that important either. So Magic Hammer. So the Magic Hammer opened up the western, well, the southwestern bits of the Dark World to us. The hook shot, as indicated by this grassy arrow over here, which unfortunately we have to kill this guy now. Can we kill him from where we are? No, we cannot, so I'm just going to walk off screen and walk back. Not to destroy the flow of what I was saying or anything, you stupid moblin. But indicated by that grassy arrow, you can hookshot over here, which opens up the northwestern bits of the Dark World to you, whereas the Magic Mallet did the southwestern. So, you need to do the Palace of Darkness and the Swamp Palace in order, you know, because they're dungeons 1 and 2 of the Dark World. 3 through 7, though, you can do in whatever fucking order you want. I normally like to do them out of order just because it's fun and kind of a neat thing after playing the game so many times, but I'm going to be doing them in the order that the game intends, so we're going to start with 3, go 4, 5, 6, 7. Doing it for posterity's sake, kind of. But mostly doing it because I believe the maidens at the end of each level, the bit of like the plot exposition that they give, depends on what level you've just completed as opposed to how many levels you've completed total. Speaking of levels we've completed, we haven't yet completed this level because we've just wandered into one. Welcome to the Skull Woods. So the Skull Woods is a bit of a weird level, in that part of it takes place on the overworld, which is kind of a neat thing. I've always been a fan of how it's laid out, but this level's also a bit of a doozy for me, because you enter the, this level has a lot of entrances. Like, I know we've seen levels with like maybe 1 or 2 entrances. This level has a buttload of entrances, and it takes full advantage of them, and I was kind of surprised there wasn't a key there. It brings back some of the elements of the Tower of Hera, like, you know, dropping down between levels, although the only time you really drop between levels is going from overworld to underworld, not really the underworld, but dungeony thing. And then there's also star switches. I know that this wasn't actually a star switch, but it's a thing that made holes appear, which is what star switches do. There are actually star switches here. And on top of that, there are a bunch of classic Zelda enemies, like Gibdos, and Wall Masters, and I'm going to kill you because you are a horrible Gibdo, walking into the big bouncy guy. So Wall Masters, they take you back to the beginning of the dungeon, like the dungeon entrance, but with as many dungeon entrances as they are, they don't take you to any one given entrance. They take you to the entrance that you came through, which makes them kind of a doozy to well, I keep saying doozy, which makes them kind of weird to deal with, because it can offset you in such a weird way, it can just completely throw you off. So be very careful with the Wall Masters in this dungeon. Also, be very careful with enemies knocking you into the Wall Masters, because that apparently counts as running into the Wall Master. Like, he's already closed his fist. He's like, I can't get anybody, and then enemy knocks you in, and then you're just screwed. Which, you know, it's not that bad for us right now, but it can offset you in a weird way, and it'll just throw you off, so just be very careful about Wall Masters. On top of that, it isn't just like, oh, let the Wall Master drop, kill it, and you're good, because the Wall Masters will respawn, and they respawn pretty quickly, so I don't know if killing them even has, like, an advantage. So I would just tend to avoid the Wall Masters. Typically, whenever you start to hear the drop sound, just fucking move, and you'll be good. Gibdos are a bit of a weird enemy to deal with. They don't really have a good way of hurting you. If you bump into them, they do like the standard 2 hearts damage, which is the standard of, like, Dark World enemies. But they take a whole lot of hits to actually kill, so just be careful while dealing with them, and I don't really need to kill you. You'll kill yourself if you bump into the bumper. As you can see, though, there are star switches in this level. Oh, speaking of dungeon items, because I just picked up the map, the keys in this level aren't so useful in the traditional sense that, like, oh, you need the key to be able to move on to the next part of the dungeon. The keys in this dungeon are more so like you pick them up to be able to escape an area you've been trapped in. So like that room that we had entered, the one with the, actually, what the hell was in that room? It was just a key in that room, actually. The one with the Gibdos and the Wallmaster, where the Wallmaster kept picking me up. That room, there is no way to get out of that room beyond using the key for that room to escape. So that's kind of the general consensus with the rooms in this dungeon. They're not so much needed to, well, I guess you do need them to actually escape the room, but it's not used in the sense that, you know, it's like, oh, I get this, and then I can move on to the next part of the dungeon, and I can keep going. It's more like, yeah, I need it to be able to complete the dungeon, but I don't actually need it to move on in the dungeon. It's more of, I need this to get the fuck out of where I am currently. So speaking of where I am currently, this room is a very interesting very interesting room that sticks out in my head, and that you need to pull a statue. Now, this mechanic isn't used very often in this game, to my knowledge, but this room is one of the points that stand out in my head, and I need to... Can I... There we go. For some reason, it was not letting me do anything. That's kind of weird. It kind of just I don't know why, but that room just sticks out in my head. Because I remember the first time I got to it, I didn't know you could pull statues in this game. So I was just like, how am I supposed to complete this puzzle? Now, there's an item you get later on in the game that makes that puzzle, like, possible to do without pulling the statue. But come on, if you're doing it in order, you're going to see it first. And also, hooray, big key! Also, those little swirly thingies don't make you invincible as video game senses would make you think. They actually make you more vulnerable in that they turn you into a bunny. And they're stupid because they turn you into a bunny without the added benefit of the bunny music. So, what the fuck? I know, I'm angry. Oh, magic decanter. That would be useful later. So if you ever run low on magic in this level, which you might run low on magic in this level. I'm actually not being sarcastic. You probably will run low on magic on this level. It might be nice to remember that decanter is right there. Because this dungeon is very, very small. Despite what I said about that, oh, it's a doozy. This level is very small. If you know the right way to tackle it, you can just knock the shit out of this dungeon. I'm not so sure about, like, a perfect route for this dungeon. Although I'm not really sure about a perfect route for any dungeon, but this dungeon more so sticks out in my head that, like, this dungeon would be, like, an easy one to be like, okay, this is the best route to take through the dungeon, but I'm not exactly sure on one. So I'm taking what I would think would probably be the best with what I remember of this dungeon off the top of my head. So we haven't really been utilizing the whole Star Switch feature that we've been graciously given back. And will you give me a heart? No, you will not give me a heart. Will you drop a heart for me? If you will come over here. Oh, you did drop a heart for me. That makes me feel good, because running around with one heart, it doesn't feel good. Running around with 2 hearts doesn't feel good, because a lot of the enemies in the Dark World do 2 hearts of damage. So you might have noticed in here previously there was holes. So when we hit the Star Switch, it actually affects rooms that we're not currently in. So long as we don't leave the dungeon. I believe it might have a set area that it affects. And I don't think you actually get anything in this room aside from pickups. This is just like a nice little pickup room to come back to if you start running low on all the good stuffs you need. All we really needed from over here was the big key, so we didn't even have to come over here yet. I don't think. We could have explored it later, I believe, but we might as well just checked it out now, because I wasn't really sure what was over there. We do know where the big key is, however, because we've passed the big key earlier. We saw the, well, not the big key, I'm an idiot, the big chest. But we didn't have a way to get to the big chest, because there were 2 holes blocking it. And to my knowledge, I don't know of any way to get out there after I've hitting a star switch due to the layout of the room. So we're going to have to find a different way to get through. And I'm not sure, do these guys... I don't think these guys are susceptible to magic in the same way that anti-fairies are, but I figured I might as well try. Yeah, they're not. I was just really hoping for a free fairy, even though actually I think we're full on fairies. Are we full on fairies? We are totally full on fairies. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy on the insides, because we're gonna need those fairies in a bit probably. And we're actually going to need to go ahead and hit the star switch so we can get rid of those holes. And I'm really hoping, yeah, cool, the holes disappear in this room. And then we can make a move on, ignoring the switch in this room, because I just totally want to check out what's under all these skulls. And it's just magic. Although magic's going to start playing a bigger role in the game, starting past this dungeon, I believe. Speaking of magic, I never showed off Quake and Ether. So there's another spell we don't have, but these two are required to beat the game. But on top of their required uses, they are actually like attacks you can use. Quake, it will kill enemies around you, although in this case it turned the Moldrums into weird pear-like creatures. And Ether/Aether, don't know how to pronounce it, freezes enemies. So they're pretty useful to use if you have a bit of trouble with the combat in this game, which honestly the combat in this game gave me a bit of trouble my first playthrough, just learning how the sword works in comparison to like the Game Boy Zelda games. So magic's going to play a bigger role in the game now because we have the fire rod. Does that mean we're going to be using the fire rod a whole lot? No, but this game starts pumping out some more items that require magic, so we're going to be seeing usage of the magic-y type things a lot more. So Fire Rod works just like the Ice Rod, just now we shoot fiery beams. The benefit of that, other than it being fire other than ice, is that now we can like light torches, which doesn't sound useful, but will have its uses. And oh dang, I could have totally... Wait, what the hell? There's a door over there that we haven't been into? What is up with that? I need to check that out. I don't think anything's important in that room, but I am very interested what's in that room. Also, after you picked up the fire rod, you could totally hookshot down to these statues, and I can't believe I'm pointing at them. You can't see them pointing at them. The hell was that? It's over here, I believe. No, but yeah, you could just totally hookshot down, so you don't have to go back around like I did. That was the foolish way to handle that situation. Speaking of foolish way, I took my hand off my controller to scratch my head, and that resulted in me falling in a hole because I just tried to hammer my way through a bunch of hard hat beetles. And let's see if we can just let them come to us and kill them. I was hoping we could kill them all. That would have been sweet. Oh well, beggars cannot be choosers. I will accept my magic and move on, and I will not get hit by this fire bar. But I will accept the graces of whatever are in the skull pots, because I would appreciate another heart, because like I said, walking around with one heart isn't good. Walking around with 2 hearts makes me feel a little bit better, a little more exotic, you know. It's like, oh, I have 2 hearts. Look at how cool I am. Yeah, but I can't believe we totally missed this room, even though I'm pretty sure that there's nothing crack-a-lackin' in this room of great importance. But we might as well just check it out just to see what's going on. Yeah, this room just totally gives you a key. Like I said, it's kind of a dead-end type room. Not so much that it's a dead-end, but it's like, hey, if you want to escape, you got to go this way, even though you could totally go from the room that we were just in prior to this, go right, and you'd be all good in the hood. Oh, Fire Rod! It kills Gibdos in 1 shot, so that's pretty nice, but you want to be careful of your magic, because you will run out of magic, and then you will be very sad. You might not be very sad, but I am very sad whenever I don't have magic. And Magic Decanter, so that's why that Magic Decanter earlier, I felt the need to point it out, because you will be going through your magic pretty quickly if you're going to abuse the Fire Rod for taking out Gibdos like I have chosen to, and there I go trying to scratch my leg. I have not learned my lessons about scratching myself whenever playing video games. It is a lesson that I've been attempting to learn since childhood, but just can't seem to get it down. That it's like, hey, hands on the controller at all times. Just need to put a sign up. Although no one pays attention to the signs at theme parks, so why would I pay attention to the signs in the comfort of my own home? And you got a heart for me, you don't have a heart for me. And I do not feel like braving the hard hat beetle at 1 heart, so we'll just chill, and we'll deal with the much more dangerous barnacle monsters, who have a crazy Japanese name, I believe, that I will never ever learn. So this thing that we saw earlier that looks like the weird alien poking out of the skull, you can burn it down for whatever fucking reason. There's not really much indication you can do it aside from you just got this Bernie rod. And oh no, we can't get to the chest because there's a wall in the way. So yeah, we have just a little, not so much a puzzle, but we can't see the area that we're walking in, and then there's walls, so it's kind of a neat visual thing just to kind of fuck with you. Not too hard, as long as you're careful and don't bump into the guy. And more of those star... I always call them star warps, even though they're not warps. I just don't know their name. Well, it's just a massive magic, I suppose. It might not have a name. And will you leave me alone, Gibdo? I'll walk over here, and then I'll jump down. and then I'll move, because I don't want to become a bunny. And there was a second Gibdo hiding there. So unfortunately for us, there's no wall masters, and oh my god, that was just fucking cheap. Unfortunately, the game remembers where the enemies are, which totally screwed us over. Oh, I could have used the magic mirror to warp us out, because I was like, man, I wish there was a wall master to get us out, but we could just totally use the magic mirror. I don't think I've ever even bothered to use the magic mirror to warp out. I think I pointed it out in the Tower of Hera. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Oh, also, when you become a bunny, you're not like a bunny forever. There is a time limit on it, of course, but on top of that, if you get hit, you revert back into being a normal Lonk guy. So don't worry about, like, the dangers of possibly being comboed to death. You will get a chance to redeem yourself at a later date. And by at a later date, I mean immediately upon getting hit, then you can just go to town and screw everyone over. Can we... Yeah, there we go. I was just hoping that they wouldn't electrocute, and I didn't want them to bump into me while I was doing my thing. We're gonna go ahead and just make easy work of these Gibdos, even though we should probably conserve our fire magic. Oh, actually, the fire rod might one-hit all enemies. That might be useful to remember if you have trouble with enemies. Get out of here, Wallmaster. I don't want you anymore. I'm not... Typically, I don't use the fire rod too much, although I'm a bit afraid of these Gibdos right now, given that we don't have a lot of hearts, and we're approaching on the boss. And have I used 2 fairies or 1? I've used 2 fairies. That kind of sucks, because I would like to have more than 2 fairies for tackling the boss, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers. Also, I'm stuck as a bunny, and I'm stuck in a room full of Muldrums. There's a Wallmaster, and I'm just glad we were able to get out of that just fine, and something just opened. I'm thinking that the door of the room that we were just in just closed, and that's what that jingle was for, because I don't think we did anything noteworthy of opening a door. Ooh, thank you, Magic Decanter! You want to have full magic when you go into the boss fight. The Fire Rod makes this boss fight a little bit easier. It's just an extra attack you can do on the boss, so try to have full magic if at all possible. It will make your life just a tad easier, and just a tad easier is always enough. Because just a tad easier is never... Well, I don't know where I was going with that sentence at all. It completely got away from me. Doesn't matter. We're gonna kill the Gibdo. I'm gonna walk into a blade trap really dumbly. I shouldn't have done that, because now I have to beat a boss with 2 hearts and a fairy, which, you know, isn't that bad off, but whatever. So, hopping down for the first time actually in the level takes us to the boss. So the boss can be a bit weird. He moves around the floor. Well, I don't know if he's moving the floor, but the room is moving. The blade traps are moving. It's scary. He shoots moth beams. I don't like what's going on. You can hurt him with things other than your fire rod, like your swords work. Your swords. You only have 1 sword. Your sword. I'm not sure if your bow and arrow works. It probably works. But just beat the shit out of him with your fire rod is your best bet, and I'm kind of thankful for the slowdown from all the things moving around on the screen. The game doesn't seem to like it, but I'm totally abusing it because it's making it a bit easier to plan where to go, and I really want to hit that moth because the next hit will probably kill us, and yeah, we're dead. That sucks big time. Yeah, this run was going a lot better. Before you get to the part of the dungeon where you have to burn it down, it goes pretty smoothly. So I'm gonna run around and I'm gonna go, like, fill up my magic, maybe collect some fairies, because I apparently need them for not all that bad of a boss, and I'll see you guys whenever I've done all that. Man, oh man, talk about a bad run of a boss fight. Man, I am not afraid to admit that this boss totally kicked my ass, as embarrassing as it is. Like, this guy isn't that bad of a boss. As long as you keep a cool head, you can kind of just beat the shit out of him. He's one of those bosses that I feel that he's easier to beat if you just take the hits. Like, if you just totally Rambo it and just stand at him and slash his guts out and spam the fire rod whenever possible, because he gets a few invincibility frames here and there, which can make the fight a bit difficult. But if you just take the hits, which isn't really something I can be doing too well, especially with 3 hearts. But if I abuse the fairies, I can make it through it no problem, which kind of sucks, because I was hoping that this could be more of a skillful run, as opposed to relying on just being like, oh, I can just take the hits as long as I have this many fairies. So it's kind of a shame that I couldn't beat this boss out of skill and had to rely on the fairies. so I'm a bit embarrassed to admit that, but, you know, whatever. Speaking of fairies, there's a surprising lack of anti-fairies in this level. I had to run back to the light world and fly back to our house to get fucking fairies, and then came back, which wasn't a problem because I was able to easily warp out and stuff, but that sucked. Maiden, I just want you to know what I went through to get you. I embarrassed myself on the internet. Yeah, I know, I saved you from clutches of evil monsters, and of course I know the prophecy of the Great Cataclysm. I played Wind Waker. Duh. Actually, that does fall in line with Wind Waker a little bit. Whoops. Too soon. I mean, the flooding of an entire kingdom. That's pretty ridiculous. But only the Knights of Hyrule can do it. But we haven't ever protected Hylia. But oh no, we're like part of their bloodline. What a plot twist, man. We didn't know that already because we had already heard about that from Sarah Hossela or something to that degree earlier. Whatever, we're done with the dungeon. That's it for Skull Woods. I'm sorry for how bad of a run that is. I apologize greatly. Well, anyways, I gotta go pick up my laundry. Thanks for watching the episode. I'll see you guys later. I really do have to go pick up my laundry.